Hey guys, welcome to Agents After Hours. I'm Brian Fox, and today we thought it'd be fun if we gave you a little more information on us, our background, where we come from, and kind of some stuff from our history to give you a better understanding of what we're talking about and why it might be of value to you as you think about your business moving forward. So again, I'm Brian Fox, real estate for 21 years, family of 3, one on the way. One of the partners of the business. We do a lot of flipping, a lot of wholesaling, a lot of renovations, background in lending as well. So as we get into it, I'll tell you more stories about myself. But Brad.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Luis Anaya, better known as Red. I've been in the real estate industry about 17 years now. I've owned my own escrow company, owned my own flipping company as well too. Ran a small brokerage, ran a small team. I've touched every aspect of the real estate industry. Worked at title, worked doing loans, was in the crash, had my own modification company. So yeah, been in every aspect of real estate or every facet of real estate that you can think of.
Tomas.
That was pretty short.
Well, we're going to talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get more in detail.
Yeah, that wasn't the whole episode.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll keep going. All right, I'll try and keep it as short as possible. I got my broker's license about, it's probably about.
Well, introduce
15
yourself,
years.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm Tom. Nice
Tom.
to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you, Tom.
Tom Kadar. So broker's license about 15 years ago. It's somewhere in the 2-3 year mark. In there, I made some connections with some high net worth clients. That's kind of how I got mixed into commercial. Once I got mixed into commercial and done all the different asset classes, I got connected with some very high net worth people who sold their company for about $100 million, and they bought a bunch of different assets across Laguna Beach. That's kind of how I got my start in commercial, and that's where I've focused on commercial since then. So since then I've been doing mainly multifamily, but some other stuff as well. And then obviously we have RTB, the brokerage, KW Legacy. Beyond that, I do my own investing. I have about 25 units. Beyond that, I have 2 property management companies. One does long-term management in Riverside. The other one does long-term management in Yucca Valley. Then I have a short-term management company in Big Bear with about 40 properties in it. And then on the investing side, we have RTB Homes, which is investing in, it's all of ours, that's investing in Section 8 rentals across the Midwest, focusing on markets that do really well for Section 8. And on my side with another partner, I have a small development company that focuses on build to Airbnb properties. We have about 6 or 8 of those now across Joshua Tree, 3 Rivers, and we just started one in Blue Ridge, Georgia. So those are homes that are specifically built for Airbnb types of properties.
What's in Blue Ridge, Georgia?
Apparently it's a hotspot for a lot of people kind of in that area, East Coast, Florida, New York. They like, you want to go to the woods. That's kind of the spot.
Interesting.
Ridge. Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
really
Unplug from the city.
Yeah, get away from the city. It's like our Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear, kind of stuff over here.
Yeah, they said that those areas out, like kind of like our Big Bear, are a little bit more untapped. There's a lot more opportunity, are though, in the like that area, or it's just secondary market to stuff like in Georgia, Kentucky, things like that.
You're asking if there's more opportunity in
Big
Bear?
Not compared to Big Bear, but I'm saying like compared to things that people know really well, like Joshua Tree, which everybody knows Joshua Tree. Or like,
I mean, people here know Joshua Tree really well, but I think, I think across the country, a lot of people know.
That's kind of like the Joshua Tree out there.
Yeah.
So it's like an area for you to unplug from the concrete jungle that they're in every day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, very woodsy. It's Blue Ridge. I mean, you can really see the whole. There's really good
scenery.
Yeah, scenery, landscape, and then I guess the Blue Ridge comes from kind of the tree line and what you can kind of see the night and things.
That's great. I wish there was better information on finding those tertiary, secondary markets for Airbnb stuff. I love that world, the Airbnb stuff. I just hasn't gotten into me yet.
We're just focusing mainly on, if you notice Sequoia, the Sequoia National Park, obviously Joshua Tree National Park, and then Blue Ridge has its national park there. So it's really high trafficked areas in those markets to national parks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
all these markets, I mean, we go through this rigorous process of picking these markets, not only selecting the market, but also looking at obviously traffic, but also looking at what's in the market right now. So, I mean, for example, in Blue Ridge is a little bit more heavy, that has some good design properties. But the one we have in Three Rivers, I mean, you look at it across Airbnb in Three Rivers and you'll see like 2 or 3 properties that have been built in the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Everything else is like old grandma's house cabin.
Oh, so giant upside on development.
Exactly. So you've
cool.
got, and on top of that, you've got those grandma's cabins that are, 100 years old, updated maybe in the last 30 years, and it's still making like $200-300 a night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a high demand area and low.
So
Sweet.
tying it back into the episode itself,
Yeah.
this is what we bring to the table. It's the diversity between us three, where we've had different avenues going into the real estate industry, and just by the stroke of God, it just put us in the right office at the right
It's
time.
really funny.
Uh,
Just tell us a story, man. That's pretty fun.
well, I mean, going into the KW market, I was never a KW agent. I never wanted to drink the Kool-Aid.
For those who don't know, KW is Keller Williams.
Yeah, Keller Williams. So for those of you that don't know, KW is Keller Williams. I thought I was a big fish in the ocean, just doing the things that I knew how to do, thinking that doing 6 to 8 transactions a year was amazing. And I got introduced to a KW just event, which led me to KW Cerritos with Josh Spitzen, Leo Robles at the time. Got recruited in, and then obviously Destiny Family Businesses brought me closer to KW Costa Mesa, where I got to meet Tom and I got to meet Brian. But in the midst of it all, it was never just a unity of businesses between us three. It was just, we knew who were the producers in the office. We knew when to mastermind. We knew when to be involved in the office itself. And as time progressed and COVID hit, it literally came down to primarily just us three in the office, going in there, still producing, still generating business, thinking outside of the box, because obviously that's what we like to do.
What attracted you to KW in the first place? I mean, for me, I guess it was just the freedom to kind of do whatever I wanted. I was at Sotheby's, like Brian was, and they kind of really locked us. I mean, it was very much a luxury kind of brokerage, which, I guess it helps, when I wasn't really going for luxury listings, so that wasn't helping me. And then on top of that, when I stepped into commercial, I was in escrow on this $7 million building, and they basically like said, "What are you doing commercial?" They like literally,
Really?
yeah, they were like, "This is not in our wheelhouse. We don't have anyone, to really, that you can work with on this." So, and then on top of that, they were harassing me on my
Your marketing.
on my splits and things like that. I had to work up over a long period of time to finally get to like an 80-20 split, or 80 or something even lower than that. But it was, I was getting just pushback from everywhere in the brokerage, and I was like, I don't need to do this. And then right after that, I went on my own. I had my broker's license, so I went on my own. And then I got super nervous. And I had another big deal, and I was like, everybody's yelling at me, sellers yelling at me, buyers yelling at me, and I'm like, oh, this is going to turn into a lawsuit. And I'm the broker, and so that's when I went to KW. Obviously, I think network is important, which is luckily brought me here today. But also, yeah, community resources, and then they sold me on the team kind of aspect of it, which I kind of bought into, but then I don't know, I didn't kind of fully do. But what about you guys? What kind of brought you to KW?
Well, mine was actually weird. I was at Sotheby's, and we were, by all accounts, doing really well there. It's just my business has always been kind of me and what I do, and I like to make up my own mind about things. I like to be an outside of the box thinker, and so being a strategic thinker is really hard when nothing wrong with it, but when you're in a company that says this is how we do it and don't do outside this, it does make it difficult when you see holes in that and you want to change it, make it, the way that you think it needs to be done, which is no right or wrong. And at that time, you're giving up a pretty sizable portion of your compensation to do that. I had a team, and it took me a year to make the move because I really want to make sure it was the right thing to do. And then I had a friend go over to the branch at Costa Mesa, He said, yeah, come over. I'm telling you, come over, take a look at it. And he was with me on my team before, and he left because he just couldn't afford his life. And so he went over there. And like I said, it took me about a year to really kick the tires on it, to see that it would probably be better for me and what I'm doing. And I mean, honestly, that day I got a 6-figure pay raise in 1 year for just my production, me. And so when I did that math, I'm like, well, at this point, I'm not really holding on to a lot over at the other company. Most of the people that I really liked over there, they're not get there anymore. The company's changed over. There's not really the same vibe as there was when I started. Let me go see this. And that had a really good upcoming vibe, which is, it doesn't matter because that changes. Like now, no one is there that was there before except for us. And so that was when I started. And I just, my philosophy at work was my door is shut, leave me alone. I'm trying to work. And that was always my thing. And, I just relied on nobody else. So I was like, well, if I'm not relying on anybody, there's no reason to pay them. Might as well just keep the money myself and then just do my own thing and people stay out of my way. And my biggest thing was I just want people to stay out of my way and let me go make money and then not give me a lot of harassment because the type font is too big or too small or whatever, just that kind of stuff. So
Which is the real thing at Sotheby's. They really did yell at you
no
for
good or bad to it. That was a definite, like their branding was on point for what they wanted. They did not want changes of it, but I was still figuring out what I wanted that to look like for me. And we had thoughts of like what we think the market needs to be like for us. And I got that freedom going over to that other brand, the KW Legacy brand, because that's kind of their thing, is let you run your own business, which was a big deal for me. I wanted to be in charge of my own ship.
Yeah, and I think the freedom aspect of it is very important. I mean, the companies that I mentioned, they would, other brokerages, especially if I was in commercial, like one of the big commercial brokerages, CBRE, Lee and Associates, not only would they force me to only do one asset class of like multifamily, and I wouldn't be able to sell an industrial building or even lease anything else. But on top of that, if I wanted my own property management company and run all these, other companies that related to real estate, they'd just be like, what are you doing? You need to focus on this.
They would cap you, in other words.
Yeah, they would basically cut me, say I can't do it. I mean, I'd probably have some sort of agreement with the brokerage that this is all I can do.
Well, also you were a low man on the totem pole of those companies. So you have to like work your way up to being the lead guy on a deal. And like, if you come in with a really good lead, goes to them, not to you.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk a while on commercial brokerages. I mean, they basically, all these brokerages, you start out on a team. You're splitting 50% with the brokerage. You're going to half. You're splitting 50% with your team. You're going to half, and they throw in all these other fees and whatever. So I mean, I hear lots and lots of stories how $100,000 commission check gets cut down to $10,000 or something like that.
That is so brutal.
And you basically did all the work.
Did a deal.
Yeah, but you did a deal, and your team's very happy. But
yeah, because
for me, it was more of I got introduced into real estate by different people that have a different perspective of what real estate was. So I wasn't really around a lot of big producers. I only knew the statistics that most agents only do 3 to 4 transactions a year. So if I'm doing 8 transactions, I'm doing 2 flips a year. I must be hitting it out of the park, right? So I got introduced to KW by Omar Damian, which was a lender at the time that I was using, and a good friend of mine still in the industry, still doing great. And I went to this panel. It was called the $1 billion panel. And I walked into this room thinking it's going to be an auditorium of like 65 agents on stage, giving a speech about what they do, how they build, what they produce. And it was, to my shock, it was 3 agents, Sophia Chacon, Elizabeth Doe, and Kevin Sturdivant. At that time, I got introduced to Josh Spitzen, which ironically, it was KW Costa Mesa that we now own that threw this event, but I didn't get recruited into KW Costa Mesa. Josh Spitzen, Leo Robles, they knew Omar. They got introduced to me. They sat me down, got recruited over to the office like 3 times, went over there to visit. It was eye-opening to see a lot of agents that had different visions, different models, different tools, just different systems, wherein 8 transactions was what they do a month in comparison to what I thought was doing big things at 8 transactions a year.
Yeah.
So I never looked at my real estate portfolio as a business. And they had the MREA book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which Josh at the time said, hey, this book goes across the board with any business. If you learn systems, tools, leveraging, being able to unplug and set up a business to run by itself. At that time, I had the restaurants. I had 1 coffee shop at the time. And I took the systems, I took the book, and I said, cool, I don't know how to implement it into myself, but I do have this business. Let's put it to work. And I did. I tried it out, went
That's
through
awesome.
it, and it grew. Like the business grew by like 60% at the time. I plugged myself out, got hiring people, and I said, you know what? This works. So might as well just go drink the Kool-Aid, jump in, cannonballs, see how deep it goes, and now here we are. Now,
Yeah, leads, listings, leverage. That's the big things out of the MREA book.
and it's just anything across the board. I mean, I use that for the restaurant where we reach out to consumers that come in and say happy birthday, bring them back in, discounts. So it just works across the board in every system. So to me, it was eye opening to see a company that offers so much and expects so little in return. It's an open canvas. You can build a business however you want. You can brand your own team. You can network with any individual in the corporation across multiple states. The depth of KW is massive, and it's growing and it's consistently growing. So it was very welcoming to see so many people that didn't get scared to share their tips, tricks, and ideas. Because the people I was surrounded with back then was like, hey, this is what I know how to do. This is how I know how to generate leads. Go figure it out on your own. I was like, go fight for your own shit. Go do your
Well,
own
I
stuff.
mean, at our company, it was a little more cutthroat. They didn't want you to know how to get into stuff because, well, I don't be mean, but a lot of people didn't really know what they were doing, but they had good networks.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want you to know how they got that because it'd be so easy to topple that and get the business away from 'em. So it was really kind of cutthroat. Whereas when I came to the company that we're at now, I mean, it was a lot more open, a lot more sharing, a lot more. I mean, everybody realized their networks don't really overlap that much, and so people were really more about, here. I mean, there was a few exceptions, but mostly, yeah, it was pretty open.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it was just that, like, just the ability to grow my business, not just my real estate business. I mean, I took that onto the temp agency I had. I took it onto every other business I would invest in. I pretty much sold or gave the boxing gym that I had with my friends. So I mean, it was able to evolve me in very, very different facets of life across the board. Being able to leverage out, being able to be at home more. Obviously, I have 4 kids at home with my beautiful wife, so time is very important to me. And learning how valuable the time is and how expensive it is to have freedom of time really opened up my eyes to seeing the value in KW.
Yeah, that's the MREA book, down to the wire. I mean, it teaches you the first step is getting an assistant,
Hmm.
and then getting that's level 1. The level 2 is a buyer's agent, then a listing agent, and then going all the way down to level 7, where you're completely removed from the business and the business is running itself.
Yep.
By what you're talking about, and that's a lot of things I learned of. Basically, looking some of the biggest thing I took away from that is when I started doing. I ran out of time and I'm looking at a task I'm doing, and is this a $20 task? Is it a $50 task?
Yeah.
Is it an $800 task? And which tasks do I want to be focused on? Which ones do I want to be able to give to somebody else to
Yeah.
handle for me?
That was actually that has been the hardest thing for me to do is to let go of stuff because I'm getting a lot better at it now because I realize how exhausting it is. It's like, I can't. And besides this, most of that, actually, I'll be honest with you, from our building was been the biggest motivator to me to let go of stuff. I think I probably, even up until a couple of years ago, was still kind of strangling things to because I had a vision for it and I want to control the vision and make it the way. But even I'm gonna be honest, working with you and Tom, I've been like, who cares if it looks good? Just kick it out there. I'm like, I can't argue. It's not working this way. Let's just do it that way and see how it works out. I'm like, well, I'll fire somebody later.
Yeah, you can't be a perfectionist.
No, I know. So
and
something
expect
I'm
it
learning.
to do more than a few things a day.
Yeah. So I don't know where that comes from 100%, but those pieces I've been really paying attention to, and just I'm working the thing is I went to 4 high schools in 4 years, so I got really good at paying attention and and shifting things around for the new rules of the playground, so to speak. Like when things don't work this way, let's move them that way. I mean, I went to 4 very drastically different high schools. And so my biggest transition was junior year to senior year. I went from a inner city, Northern California school, like off one of those movies where they talk about putting fences around them. I was in one of those to Newport Harbor High School. And I'm telling you, it was 2 different TV shows in 1 6-month period of time. I have never been so shocked at the difference between human beings in one space and another. And I was like, this looks like a TV show. Like every kid there was like you'd exactly expect off of 90210 when I went there, which, I mean, that's what the shows are about, those kids, but I wasn't from that world. And so, like, for me, paying attention and changing has always been my biggest survival mechanism. So moving from agent operator over to owner, like making as many of those shifts as quickly as I could mentally, organizationally in my head has been a big thing for me, which honestly, I thank you guys for. It's not been fun, me making those transitions, because I have all these very long conversations with my subconscious. I'm like, okay. And I start moving, I swear to God, like I talk to myself and I shift those pieces around as fast as I can. Cause I'm like, it's not working like that. It's got to go that direction, change it. And so just allowing those changes to happen. So yeah, back to that MRE model.
Yeah, you're very much a chameleon. I mean, you gotta adapt to different environments, but we do that every day as real estate agents. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever client we're talking to, we talk to them differently.
Well, if you're good at it.
If you're good at it,
Yeah.
Well, it also brings a different aspect of taste from all the other offices that are out there, because I think all three of us bring uniqueness in the industry itself. Like, not one of us has been like in just one little niche all the way across. Real estate is such a vast industry. And I think we've touched so many of it through our years in the industry itself, each and every one of us.
Sure.
So I
You
think
didn't even talk about your staging company and how you kind of started
Oh, I
that.
didn't really. I mean, I could tell the story. So, I do have a staging company, and I guess as an arm of that, a design company for planning out renovations or interior design. And we kind of created that out of something of a necessity, but also a problem I saw. And so this was one of those times where, honestly, when I did it, it was probably not the smartest thing to do from a functionality standpoint, but I saw it as like, I can fix that problem. That if I can fix that problem, why wouldn't people want to buy the product?
Yep.
And truthfully, I've learned that I mean, although that is a very nice thing to say, very crappy. McDonald's has horrible hamburgers and they win the world on selling burgers. And so that marketing thing, I kind of did the other way around. I did, product, and if you build it, they will come, as opposed to who gives how it's built, just market the hell out of it.
Which
So
we broke a record in Jurupa.
what was that?
We broke a record in Jurupa.
Oh yeah. So
on my flip, obviously Brian staged it. No other property in that area has ever sold for that price in the last, I think it was 12 years that I went back.
we have broken records on 50% of the properties we've sold for the market, but also we have oversold everything. Everything has oversold. I think maybe 4 of the properties we ever staged have not sold for overmarket, but we've broken about 50% of those. We've broken a record, and we've broken, and this isn't special to me. This was very much by design. We knew that, okay, so had lunch with a really big client of mine, who's no longer with us, but when he was, his construction company built, theme park stuff. He built Harry Potter the ride. He built Star Wars Land here in Florida. And I mean, just abnormal clientele, but he was the highest up client I had at the moment. And so we got lunch, and I just gonna pick his brain about how he built this very unique company. That company had just honestly didn't exist in the world. It's like 50% of their clients were theme parks. And it was very interesting how you're able to create this niche inside of the market. And I wanted to learn about it. So we got lunch, but one of the bigger takeaways was like, look at, the business you have and what is the biggest thing you can do that impacts the value of that business the most. And so I had to think about it for a while. And, the biggest item anybody wants to talk about in a listing presentation is their marketing. And it's great, but there's very few things, in my opinion, that differentiate one marketer from the next, because it's all stuff you can buy. And you can buy this most glamorous print material here, you can buy it over here, you can buy the traffic, you can buy all of it. Very few things are attached to a spokesperson that is so good at selling a house, he's going to convince somebody to, cut a check for $2 million. But presentation is something that is not something everybody can do, and it's instantly value added to the property. And so what we started doing, and we started doing this before, we actually started doing this on property because we didn't like the problem. And this is something we just started doing, is we started moving their furniture around. We started taking stuff out. We started putting stuff in, because they would ask us, what should we do? And so I'd give them my honest opinion. But then after doing that for a couple of years, we were like putting it on the credit card. And then like when the house would sell, pay off the credit card. I mean, I built most of the the stuff I have now on kind of the swipe in, swipe out, swipe in, swipe out. And we would dig, things would work and we would return it if they didn't. Like we would really build this thing out. And so, but what's happening is that we started building this business out of the idea that presentation sells. And so the better we can make a house look, the better we can sell that house. And so we started putting a lot of thought and experience, a lot of trial and error into how we design houses. But now when we stage houses, we do them for a very clear perspective. What will make the person feel like they've got to be in the space more? And we spend a lot of time on the entertainment value of property, on the, lightening of spaces. We can talk long and wide on how to make something feel better for someone, because people feel property. And so it's kind of the funniest thing. People walk into a house and they say it feels weird or it doesn't feel right, or I don't know what's about this place, but it feels awesome. And they have these feelings because they can't really describe them. And it's the same thing that happens when you like are on an elevator and someone kind of gives you that ick. And you're like, oh God, that was weird. Like they give you this feeling. So you can do that with space. And so what we started doing is we started really manufacturing these spaces because a lot of people can stage and there's a lot of staging companies, but when most people do stage a house, what they're doing is putting furniture in a room.
They're filling the rooms.
We've got even agents, and I offer my service to kind of critique their stuff and tell them why they're not selling, because I can tell you pretty quickly why you're not selling. Well, price or otherwise, say, look, the price isn't always the problem. It's presentation to meet the price, because people are really saying, how do I value this? And if I see this as valuable, I'll pay it. But if it's asking a high price and the value presentation is down here, there's no matchup on how they transcend that value. So, people stage property and they put like a couch over here and a chair over there and piece of art right there. And so it's like, well, I had this, and I've had one of our agents, some people said, well, I had this extra furniture, so I just kind of thought I'd bring it over there to stage it up. I'm like, yeah, that's not how staging works. And so, anyway, so we started doing that quite a bit. And yeah, we have broken a lot of records in different areas, and that's not a brag. It's just something we've started figuring out what the trick was to get people to want it more.
It's okay to brag.
Well, but I was not raised that way. I was raised in a shut up, do your work and move on. And so, anyways, but yeah, it's been really cool because
that world has changed. Unfortunately. Now you have to brag.
But we got really good at figuring out what things we could do to get people to want stuff more, at least when it came to real estate. And we figured out also what things, if you do not do, will get them to pay less. And so the same thing that we do on our flips now, I look for space, room sizes. We look at, very specific features. And I will say one of the posts that I do a lot in social media is that the weird thing on a property is usually the moneymaker, like, especially right now.
Like something unique in the property.
Yeah. The weird thing. So like the one we have right now, that courtyard, that's going to probably be the moneymaker on that property. Mm-hmm. It's unique. It's one of a kind, but we can make it look like the thing they wish they could have on Pinterest. We can make that thing like the room that they'll like, oh my God, that's so cool. If I have that, they'll never have it. Like the thing on Pinterest or like on House where it's this so well-designed Japanese courtyard of this $14 million house, they'll never have it. They're never going to buy a $14 million house. But these properties that were built a certain time have unique characteristics like that. And so we can actually give someone that and they'll say, where on earth am I ever going to get that again? And stuff like that will get everyone to buy in to the property. And so there's things that are coming around now that were, 50s, 60s. I don't know, when conversation pits are going to be a big thing coming around. Bars and properties, those are going to come back. But things that, what year was that? 70s? 80s?
Remember,
like
I don't know what they were.
You know what they are. Like what year bars, like where they built them in those extra rooms? You guys have toured residences in Laguna Hills where they have like the bar.
Yeah.
In there. Is that the 70s, 80s?
I think maybe even 80s.
80s. So people used to put bars, like full built out bars. My grandparents had a bar, and it's like they spent every night down there on the weekends. You're going to see that stuff that was unique to that property that 10 years ago we would have ripped it all out. You're going to see people upgrade those and keep them soon.
Unique features.
Unique features will end up being moneymakers on property quite often. So odd, and many times things that you would go in as an investor or flipper and say, I got to get that out. Sometimes that's the best thing you should keep because you can do stuff to that they can only ever dream of in real life. Those kinds of things, you put enough thought into them and they can be moneymakers. So anyways, long story short, we kind of came into the space where we were working on how to increase the value of property, because that's the biggest thing we could do for our clients is if you're going to hire me and I charge you 6% to sell everything, what value am I adding? And so our argument was that we on paper can show you how we add 10, 20% on value sometimes for what we're asking, we're paying you back plus some. So that was how we started doing design and staging.
Not only that, shameless plug, I was able to get a listing out of that house because obviously marketing, staging, everything kind of falls into place. There's so many layers in regards to being a good agent. It's not just putting good furniture in. You obviously have to follow up. You got to answer your phone. You got to talk to the neighbors. You got to show face. There's so many other things about it. But realistically, shameless plug on our side, that's what we offer at KW Legacy. The uniqueness, the lack of no ego between us three, where you can walk into our office, ask us questions. I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I don't know this, but I know for a fact Tom does, or I don't know this, Brian does, vice versa. We don't have any kind of ego in regards to holding back ideas, holding back information, holding back just sharing the opportunity to help your business grow. And that's the very, very uniqueness part about our office. We're
a different vision. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
You see how passionate Brian's on staging.
and
then obviously Red's got restaurants and I've got development stuff and all this other kind of stuff. But
flips.
that's how I kind of envision the brokerage whenever I think about it. And, you know, I see all the other KWs and then I see all the other brokerages and it's all like, honestly, it's pretty much the same. I mean, what are they selling to you? I mean, they're like, here, we're going to give you leads or we're going to
leads.
we'll help you build a team or.
Well, you know, it's actually funny, dude. I had a conversation with one of our agents the other day and I hate when this conversation, I was actually thinking about when we came in here, at some point we'll talk about our biggest pet peeves in the business or big annoyances. And I have two. This is one of them for me is when agents worry about or trip over like something like a franchise fee, like capping out or like their commission capping out. Like the model is you only pay this much into the company and then you keep all of it. And tripping over that for me is psychotic because like you're trying to be wealthy and learn inside of an organization where they teach you how to not stay small and you're tripping out over the small percentage you're paying into the company. It's like, you should put that on a credit card and go like stop worrying
I
about
just
it.
don't get it. I mean, obviously you're limping into real estate. You obviously don't have money and you filled it
That's
up.
the thing. Well, not only that limping, but you get into real estate because you want the money stuff. You want to be bigger. You want to build a life. So doing that while also doing this other thing, I mean, and not taking advantage of the tools around you because you're right. Like when people go to a lot of these companies, they're, well, okay, so what's my split and how much do you take? And that's like the main conversation as opposed to, those are not the conversations you'd be having with a company.
Not if you want to make money, right?
Well,
it's like, but
it's what they know. And I could say, I could honestly sit here and tell you, I cared about it significantly because when I was signing up to KW, remember I was running my own brokerage prior to joining KW. So I did not even know that there was a split. Like I was paying my broker $500 per transaction.
Right.
That's it. Like there was no intrinsic knowledge behind me knowing that obviously when you partner up with the right brokerage and you actually get the tools,
you would have met us.
Knowledge, I would have
stayed there. You might have put some extra bucks in your pocket, but you wouldn't have
realistically
looking at a portfolio of
nothing.
Section 8 properties. You wouldn't be
there
looking at
wouldn't be the
development opportunities.
there wouldn't be
the
knowledge, just the connections that I've built from actually going to a place that teaches me not to be so narrow-minded on the small stuff. Yeah. Now, obviously, I defend my money 100%. Like I want to make sure that I capitalize on making enough money to provide a better life for my family, to provide a better life for myself. With that being said, at the same time, if you're not aligned with the right company and you're focusing in on, hey, I'm paying too much in fees, then obviously you're not getting enough value. You're not putting in the work.
You're not taking advantage.
You're not taking advantage of the tools that are there because, I mean, I could go backwards in time and I would say I would have jumped into this the minute I signed on the dotted line when I got my real estate license. I would have gone to KW right away.
The same like coaching. I mean, I was so hesitant like for a long time, even first 5 years or 8 years in the business, I saw people just normally shelling out $500, $1,000, $2,000 for coaching. And then I think, I don't know when it was, like 5 years ago when I was really, I had a little bit of money. I wanted to invest it. So I wanted to learn kind of wholesaling. I was learning about this new thing called wholesaling. And
this is a new thing.
back then it wasn't like as cool as it is now. So I was like,
tour.
So I paid, I don't know how much it was, like 4 or 5 grand. And I learned this very specific process with these two guys that were teaching it, on when to send a mailer, when to send a text, when to do a dropped voicemail, and then kind of repeat the process, and follow up and all this other kind of stuff. And very quickly, I mean, I was able to find my first 2 or 3 properties that I bought for myself off market, 20-30% below market price. And it was just like, why haven't I done this sooner?
Yeah.
And then it just,
Well, that same guy, I think I was
snowballed
telling
into
you
a
that
bunch
2
of other
days ago. I'm
stuff
like,
too. Yeah.
God, I'm so upset with myself that I didn't know this stuff before. I'm like, I've been running the wrong direction in the desert for 4 years, like, or whatever it's been.
Mm.
But that's the biggest problem in this industry right now. Everybody wants to get quick, like immediate returns, immediate, gratification, immediate success. I see so many people get in such significant debt where they're hiring these coaches that are $2,000-$3,000 a month, and they're not even producing enough to pay the coach. And it's like you have to elevate and grow little by little as your business progresses.
Yeah.
It's all a compound effect, right? And I think, again, shameless plug, that's what we offer as a brokerage. We offer the abilities to be able to analyze your business, look at it, see where you need to adjust, see where you need to pivot. Be more than happy to even partner up on some of the deals. Like, I wish I would have known that I could partner up with people that know more about flips or know more about development deals or know more about. I wanted to keep it all to myself.
Yeah.
And little did I know that the fastest way to actually grow is to give an opportunity to somebody that knows more than you, and then just partner up with them.
We were
Like,
all there,
literally
smaller mindset kind of thing.
Which again, it's not even just a smaller mindset in that sense, because I think a lot of big agents, they're losing a lot of potential growth because of not being in the right room. There's a lot of agents that, just because we're not only attracting brand new agents,
Right?
like, we can obviously offer different aspects of revenue growth, business structure, corporation structure, how to pay out your kids, how to save on taxes. Obviously, we're not tax accountants. That's more of my niche.
We have an affiliate program.
Yeah, we have an affiliate program where I mean, I love numbers. I love, being able to keep more for my family instead of give more to the IRS, which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not breaking the laws. We're not doing anything that's outside of the norm or outside of the IRS codes. All those things.
The tax systems. But what you're saying is exactly how I envisioned the whole brokerage. I mean, so what I was saying before, how all these other brokerages have these, here's some leads, here's this. There's so many other ways to make money in real estate. I mean, just the ways how we just listed for ourselves. But I mean, the very basics, I mean, wholesaling, flipping, I mean, obviously listing properties.
Listing, yeah, there you go.
I think, yeah, I mean, it's
sellers.
But when you're starting out, I mean, you really need as many options in your tool belt as possible. If you're just like calling and calling and calling, do you want to list your house? No. Do you want to list your house? Do you want to list your house? No. But if you talk to somebody and they say, no, I don't want to list my house, but I would take a cash offer on it if you can close on it quickly, and I'm willing to take a haircut on the price if you can close on it quickly, then obviously there's a deal there.
Yeah. But I've seen agents hang up the phone there.
Yeah, they hang up. They don't know what to do. They don't have an investor pool or anything like that. So they basically just kind of walk away from those opportunities.
Well, I think that's probably one of the saddest things that I see in most agents is they will die and gone to heaven the moment they secure an investor, and that guy will buy all the stuff they find. As opposed to being part of the investment and finding out how to do this stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
That for me, it's the biggest miss out for agents that I see is that they're just trying to get to that day that they find someone who will give them any kind of consistency in buying and selling and trust me enough not to have to work for it anymore, as opposed to like being able to structure the. I know, but that's my point. Is that that's the biggest thing.
You're surrounded with.
Yeah.
All those things are big factors, because I used to be those agents. I used to have an investor.
I know.
I would give everything to them, and then I got surrounded by guys like you and both of you guys, and I was just like, holy shit,
That's
why
the
can't I
biggest
be the
point.
investor?
That's the biggest point. Like, I wasn't around those people either. And because I wasn't, because there was no one having a different conversation with me, I was happy to go find somebody to, oh my God, got a $10,000 check for that third thing I sold them this year, like, and being so excited about it and not knowing anything about these conversations because I wasn't having anybody have them with me.
Yep.
And I was the person who was running, like, I was the pioneer for every company I was at. Like, I was the one running and running and running. Like, there was no one really coming to me and saying, well, have you ever thought about doing it? No one like that.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody in that.
You got to be at, got to have the bigger mindset. You got to be in that brokerage.
Actually, I heard a great saying. You have to network to get work. That was pretty cool.
Mm,
I just thought
Your network is your net worth.
There's that
I
too,
like,
yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But with that being said, this is what we offer at KW Legacy. This is a little bit about us, the three main owners and operators. We're still in the trenches. We're still putting out work. We're still listing properties. We're still flipping. We're still investing. We're still doing commercial.
Still at home taking care of family.
We're still at home taking care of family. We're still using our revenue from our transactions to obviously grow other businesses and leverage and be able to buy our freedom, because obviously freedom is very expensive and people don't understand that part. So with that being said, tap in, come talk to us, give us a shot, let us know what questions, concerns about the real estate industry you might have, and see what we have to offer and compare and contrast. Obviously, we don't want to force anybody to work with us. We don't want to force anybody inside of our network or our bubble that is not happy in regards to growing or being open-minded in regards to every avenue of opportunity there is in real estate. It's not a one size fits all. It's a very vast and very open industry where you can make money so many different ways. And if you're willing and able to think outside of the box and want to grow and learn, come and see what we have to offer. You know, in essence, we'll have our information at the bottom of this podcast. We'll have all of our personal Instagrams and social media, so that way you can get to know us even a little bit more. And if you have any other questions about anything, feel free to reach out, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. We want to grow. There's enough business to go around 3 or 4 times, but we wanted to go around with us a couple times before. But again, tap in, let us know how we can help you grow your business and partner up with you.
Sounds
Yep.
good. Let's wrap it up there.
All right.
Sweet.
Guys, we'll see you here next time on Agent Half Hours. Check us out on our next episode. We'll see you soon.